All right, my friend, you can hit it again.
All right, very nice. So my apologies about the audio, everyone. I am Brian Hart, and I am the Director of Special Projects and Initiatives for EveryLibrary, and we are very excited to be able to bring this Vote Libraries chat to you all. It's more or less an update about some of the activities and projects that EveryLibrary is working on to support libraries across the country during this election season and every season. So we're very excited about our work, and we're extremely and very dependent upon you all, your donations, your support in order to continue the work. So as much as this is an informational call about some of those specific projects and activities, this is also an ode to you or a thank you for your time and for your contributions to EveryLibrary as an organization. Whether you signed a petition, whether you have contributed monetarily, all the same, we are very, very appreciative of those donations and of your contributions. So thank you. John Chrastka will be doing the heavy lifting for this call, so you guys don't necessarily have to worry about me and my inability to get the audio correct. That won't be a problem for the duration of this call, as John will be doing the heavy lifting, as I said. I will advise that we will be recording this call to make it available for other donors and supporters who are interested in viewing it, but for one reason or another weren't able to join us this evening. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the call over to John. And again, thank you all for joining us.
Good evening, everybody. This is John Chrastka with EveryLibrary. It's nice to have everybody here tonight. Thanks for Brian for helping with the logistics. I want to also start off by thanking our other colleagues. My colleague Brian Hart, who's on our board of directors, Patrick Sweeney, who's our political director, Erica Finley, who's our financial guru and one of our founding board members as well, Peter Bromberg, Mel Gooch, and one of our emeritus board members, Lindsay Sarin. I got to tell you, folks, I would not be able to do any of this if it was without the help of those good folks who want to help on a day-to-day basis. Some of you who are on the call tonight, I've seen your names come up in the chat already. There's things that you've done to help us start, to help us get our runway, to help us move from where we are now to where we'd like to be. I have a lot of personal gratitude as well as professional gratitude about that. I want to take you through some things that we're working on tonight with an eye towards November the 8th, an eye towards 2017 and beyond. The opportunity for us to share this pretty widely is something that's very interesting to us because we are only as effective as the size of our list. The number of donors that we have is certainly a component of that, but we want to be able to reach as much of the public as we can with a discussion about the value of libraries and librarians in the 21st century and a focus on these elections that need to get won to advance the cause in those communities. If you want to have questions in the chat, Brian's going to be keeping an eye on it, but otherwise I'm going to keep rolling. We'll stop at the end and have a little bit of back and forth time, I hope. EveryLibrary, as an organization, is what I think a unique organization in the library advocacy ecosystem. As some of you know, and as some of you should be learning about, we are a 501c4 organization. That means that we are not set up like a charity. We are not set up like an association. We are not set up like a nonprofit. We are instead set up as a super PAC for libraries. That lets us do 2 or 3 or 4 significant things on election day that are significantly different than the other C3s in the space. That's all cool that they're there and we're there. We want this to be an additive situation, to be the first new idea since Dewey died. It's a little humbling at times, but it also means that we might have the right tool for the right situation now. We're built as a 501c4 social welfare organization. A super PAC is another nice way to put it. We are, in fact, donor supported, and I want to say thank you again to everybody who's on the call today and everybody who's listening to this later on for being a donor. We are only as effective as our donors. We are only as effective as our activists. As staff and as volunteers on this, we put the donor money to work as fast and as hard as we can. The average donation from a personal donor is $48.50. You can get a lot done on $48.50. It's about, well, if you're the NRA, the ACLU, the Sierra Club, United Way, you're coming in at about $33 to $35 per individual donor. It's nice to be a little bit bigger than those established organizations. We know that's going to change over time, but we have the monthly donation program for a reason. We're asking people to bring in a $5 or a $10 level of support on a monthly basis. That's an exciting thing for us to be able to do because it smooths out our cash flow. We're still a relatively young organization. Likewise, our donations from corporate sources, largely vendors within the library community, these corporate donations are averaging about $3,800. This is probably closer to $4,200 now. The opportunity to put those corporate donations to work on top of the individual donor base is significant for our growth. We're looking to the vendor community to help add capacity for things like our website, things like a big buy of advertising. We're not looking to build this organization on the backs of the vendors like everybody else is. The individual donors, quite frankly, is where we need to go. And we can go there into pro bono training, coaching, and consulting because of our donors. The fact that we provide pro bono support is significant. The library that needs us, that can't afford us otherwise, should get us. And it's our donors that make that possible. The library that should not be using public money to bring in a political consultant, they can still have us come in. The pro bono aspects of what we do is a key differentiator of why we're successful and why we're able to work in so many different communities, from the biggest ones, like a city of New Orleans size, to small ones like River, East Illinois, or Jeanette, Pennsylvania, who's on the ballot this November the 8th. Jeanette's got 4,000 people who live there. I love that we can do it pro bono for them. We also do, with our donor money, rapid response. Rapid response is a key differentiator as well of our organization. We like to be able to get into a situation where there's trouble and add money to it. Add money to a solution for it. Add money that reaches the public with a correct message about that library if there's some sort of a crisis, a call to action to the public about those librarians, to correct a situation where there's a trouble in the community because of opposition. These are really significant ways for us as a relatively young organization, we're 4 years old right about now, to get things done. We do 3 areas of concern. We started out back at the end of 2012 with just one: elections. How can we help the library talk to voters more effectively? How can we help get out the vote yes activity for libraries happen more effectively? We've branched out a bit since then, since the end of 2012, when we got started with $0 in the bank, and people showed up with our call to action and said, yes, a super PAC for libraries is a good idea. We've added negotiation support. We help a lot of communities right now behind the scenes when there's a negotiation that has to take place between a county commission or a town council or a city council. How do we help libraries advance that negotiation? We're pretty sophisticated about the behind the scenes. There's some fun to be done with the public theater of advocacy. We're also helping with the negotiation around school libraries a lot these days, and I'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. Then the other part of what we've added on, really since Patrick Sweeney came on board full-time at the beginning of 2016, is our activism platform. The activism that we do is not, well, it's similar to what the NRA or the ACLU or the Human Rights Campaign does, those same kinds of organizations we've been modeling ourselves on, to be able to give a call to action out to the public and say that there's a crisis in libraries, please respond. Or there's an opportunity for libraries, please support. It's been nice to be able to broaden our portfolio over the last 4 years, and it's only because of our donor support that we've been able to do that. When we work on an election, this is our bread and butter, this is our everyday. When we work on an election, it's with the staff and the trustees. It's about their informational communications campaign. It's also, though, as a key differentiator, about the Yes Committee, the folks who go neighbor to neighbor, voter to voter in town to share a message about the informational campaign that says, yes, we would like to see this enacted in our community. We would like to see our community have the library at its core. The knock on the door. Hi, I'm John. I'm with the local Vote Yes Committee. I'm voting yes for my library. Will you join me? It's great fun to be able to work with those people. It's great fun to be able to help the staff get their plans together and to do good communications, but it's so much fun to help out a community of folks who want to go neighbor to neighbor and voter to voter, door to door. Patrick right now is flying somewhere above Chicago on his way back from Meridian, Idaho, back to his home in New York, in Brooklyn. He just spent the day with the staff out there doing some training work and with the Volunteer Vote Yes Committee, helping them with their Get Out the Vote. The travel that he's doing is paid for by the library because of the training, but the time that he spends is donor supported, and that's a fantastic arrangement. We've had 41 wins to date, just to bring you up to speed. Forgive me, 41 campaigns to date, 32 wins. We've helped secure about $100 million in stable tax money for libraries through those wins. There's 13 additional libraries that we've got on the ballot this November. There's some really interesting campaigns that we're doing this November. We've got 2 that are must-pass, and I mean that very seriously. Jeanette, Pennsylvania, that I mentioned a moment ago, if Jeanette doesn't pass their measure, they close. We're closed for about half of 2015 because their municipal funding, honestly, it's just dried up. They don't have a structural levy in place. They'd like to put one in place, something that will carry the library through the day-to-day operations. If they don't receive that money through the voter-approved measure, they will have to diminish to the point of closure in 2017. Likewise, Douglas County, Oregon. Douglas County, Oregon has had its budget cut by the county commission there time and year after year. They're down right now to a skeleton. They're down right now doing the best that they can with the budget that they've got. In fact, they've got a bridge grant, not a bridge loan, but a bridge grant from a benefactor foundation in the area to help them stay open through December 31st when, on January 1st, if they win this measure coming up on Election Day, the new funding will kick in and a new library district will kick in. These aren't casual campaigns. These are the bread and butter for people who work there, librarians and staff. It's also the core of library services for those communities. We've got 2 really cool building bond initiatives on the ballot. We've got 9 others that are looking to add capacity to their good work already by possibly passing a measure. These 13 elections on the ballot, we're going to keep you guys posted as the season goes along. We're going to do our library watch party again on November the 8th. We're also trying to be vigilant, though, for some headwind that's coming in, potentially for our campaigns and for others on the ballot around the country. We ran into headwind with the Americans for Prosperity group, the Koch brothers supported mega PAC back in the spring elections, the primary season, where they came out against the library. Well, forgive me, they didn't come out against the library. They came out against the tax measure, barely mentioned the library, and took a real hard swipe at us. They did robocalls against the library. They did direct mail against the library. And as the Americans for Prosperity group, they have a fairly significant budget from the Koch brothers. Our budget was less robust than theirs to answer it. Unfortunately, we lost in Plainfield. We've won in the face of Tea Party opposition and other organized anti-tax groups in other communities. We've lost in others. The biggest threat that we have is to let those go unanswered. Our rapid response fund is set up in order for us to, within hours, literally within 4 or 5 hours, once we find out about a threat, to put money into advertising the Vote Libraries message in those communities, mainly on Facebook, some on other kinds of social media. We want to be ready to go. I'll talk with you more about that at the end of this. We are looking forward to doing probably 14 elections in 2017. It's an odd year. It's an off cycle. The number of elections is just smaller because of that. That being said, 14 is what we're really hoping to be able to do. We've got 2 that are hopefully going to be on the ballot in February. If their election cycle goes right, it'll be February. If not, we'll have them in April, one way or another. We've got some room to work with other communities in 2017. And we're very interested in working with other communities for 2018 and 2019. We would like a longer runway than just this rapid response. We'd like a longer runway like we've been doing with some of these campaigns this season, where we've spent maybe a year, 18 months, 2 years working with them. The longer the runway, the better it goes, in our opinion. So if you know folks who need the help in 17, 18, or 19, introduce us. We'd very much like to help. All right. So when we talk about the 3 things that we're doing, we've got elections, we've got negotiations. I mentioned before about the towns and cities and county budgets that we work on. A lot of that's behind the scenes. And quite frankly, I'm never going to tell you who they are, because we come into a community sometimes and we work with them quietly. We work with them because For them to have some outside agitator from Chicago, San Francisco, or New York coming in, it would become about us and not about what the library needs. The communities that we have an agreement with that we'll talk about in public, we do. It was great fun to work with Dallas. It was great fun to work with Miami on their budget negotiations, winning not just holding the line on cuts in Miami, but winning new money from the county commission, helping Dallas bridge their city council elections and have an old city council and a new city council fulfill their promise to the community. We want to do more of these kinds of activities, and we're very happy to be behind the scenes on it and confidential. We're also in our negotiation platform right now working with, or portfolio I should say, working with about 18 different state school library associations or state chapter school library divisions or sections on the ESSA or ESSA implementation plans in those states. As you may know, No Child Left Behind has ended. No Child Left Behind, which left every single school librarian behind in the process over the last 15 years, has been replaced by the ESSA, the Every Student Succeeds Act. It was through a hell of a lot of lobbying activity and advocacy work that the American Library Association, AASL, state chapters and affiliates all around the country did this over the last couple of years. They got things like the Skills Act into the discussion. They helped redefine what effective school library programs look like, what school librarianship should be in the federal law, and it's passed. Back in December or November, it passed. Since then, we've been working on a technical assistance program with those state library organizations to help them add school library issues into their state plans, with the idea that if the federal law looks a particular way, the state law and the state authority should also look that way, where it says that effective school library programs are necessary and fundable. Well, let's make sure that that happens in those states. If it says that school librarians are part of the instructional life of the school and that they're eligible for title monies, well, let's see if we can't get that to happen in each of those states that we're working with. It's an extraordinarily important moment in time, and one that won't happen again for years. The last time the states had to crack open their fundamental law about education was back when No Child Left Behind was enacted. Hopefully this won't happen again for some time to come because it's traumatic for everybody involved, but we can potentially make a generational shift alongside the school library folks in those states. And I want to thank Rosen Publishing for their support of us in getting this program off the ground. Rosen Publishing has been an early funder of ours. They were one of the first corporate or vendor donors. They helped set up the Rapid Response Fund, and now their support for school library initiatives that we're working on. Again, we're not working on policy, we're working on tactics. But without Rosen, we wouldn't be able to get this thing even off the ground. And then our negotiations also extend to the work that we're doing with other state library associations. We've got some great stories. I'd invite you to hit our website to look at how we helped secure broadband funding in Alaska in the face of a recession, how we helped defeat a bad bill in Nebraska alongside the Nebraska Library Association that would have devolved all of the state boards, library boards of trustees, and let city councils and mayors run the library. How on our website, alongside the Michigan Library Association, we helped run a campaign to veto a terrible bill that would have put a gag order on librarians in advance of campaigns. The activism that has grown out of that is kind of extraordinary. If you look at our action.everylibrary.org site, we are working on petitions that change the landscape of library advocacy. Right now we're fielding petitions that are directed at, for example, Mayor Rahm Emanuel and the Chicago Public Library Board of Education. Sorry, Chicago School Board of Education. The Public Library Board doesn't. To be able to talk to them about how they've been cutting school librarians again and again and again, and how we need to hold the line on that. We were very lucky and fortunate the other day to have a little bit of a news story out in the regular media here in Chicago that we could leverage. We were able to put money onto an ad that targeted parents of particular demographics in the city of Chicago through Facebook. We had 500 people sign that petition. So the mayor and the school board of the Chicago Public Schools heard from 500 unique people in the city of Chicago, their constituents, about this issue. We're not in it for the short term with that one. We've also had situations, though, that have been quicker. In Douglas County, Oregon, just the other day, we fielded a petition that had 250 people in a matter of 10 hours tell the county commissioners in Douglas County, Oregon, to restore neutral voter information to the library's website about that must-pass election. 250 people from around the country, a good couple of dozen of them in Douglas County. We had the resources we needed to do those ads. And we've built a network of folks through our previous work who we could activate. It's potentially a game changer. The list that we've already shared with Michigan Library Association, Nebraska Library Association, Alaska Library Association, we're in this to be open source. We're in this to be additive to the advocacy ecosystem. We are certainly much more of an activist organization because we're going to get out there and duke it out. I like being able to do that. We're also helping to support, from an activism perspective, the Vote Libraries initiative. We've got several partners that are advertising the sign-ups for Vote Libraries. The pledge on Vote Libraries 2016 is basically, if you carry your library card and your voter ID card in your wallet all year, you're a special interest voter, just nobody's ever told you before. We're telling them that. We have a good partnership going on right now with Overdrive and a few other organizations that are advertising directly with the public, and your donations let us advertise on votelibraries.org, the Vote Libraries Facebook page, through the engine of the Facebook advertising to reach folks with that message and to have them become those activists so that when there is a problem in Douglas County, Oregon, or there's a situation in the Chicago Public Schools, or if there's something happening in rural Virginia or eastern Delaware, we've got the people who can step up and say yes for libraries. Action.everylibrary.org. This is the place that we need your help with most. To get this out there to folks so that they can take the step and sign up to support libraries. And I want civilians. I want people who are not related to you. I would like people who have not been to the library themselves since they were kids but understand the value. Those folks that need to hear from us, who then need to sign up for our lists, who can then be made to take action, it's the next step in library advocacy. So we've got an agenda. We've got an agenda that I want to expose to you. We're 4 years into this. We've got some other work to do ahead of us. We've got infrastructure that we've built. We've got proof of concept that we've done. We're taking proof of concept and trying to get to scale with it in a few different ways. Our agenda is something that we need your help on. We need the help of all of our early donors and supporters. We need the help of our networks. And I want to tell you what it is because there might be part of it you see yourself in. We have 4 challenges, I think, in this library advocacy ecosystem. The 4 challenges that we're trying to address, regardless of whether we're talking about elections, negotiations, or activism. Nostalgia still drives our core library voters. Our core library voters are not users. They might have a library card, they might not. It doesn't really matter. If they don't have a library card, they certainly have no idea what 21st century librarianship is. If they do have a library card and are not a power user, they have a glancing understanding, and yet they're hungry to find out more. We want to be able to update their nostalgia. Suspicious voters. Suspicious voters are people who are not suspicious of the library, they're suspicious of where their taxes go. Some of it is any taxes of bad tax groups. Some of it is people who just want to know where their money's going and who's spending their money. To be able to talk with alacrity about a policy framework for taxation, to be able to talk with alacrity in each of those towns that we've been on the election day, to be able to talk with engagement across the country, we need help with that. Not to try and persuade the any taxes of bad tax crew. They're a little bit hard to persuade. They have a philosophy and a belief. But to talk to people who are suspicious, otherwise suspicious, about where their tax money goes, and to be able to differentiate the library for them, it's a significant lift. It's not going to be done in a short amount of time. We also know one of the challenges is that the librarians are the accidental candidate in any race, in any election, in any negotiation. that the image of the librarian matters a great deal. And when we talk about librarians, we are talking about everybody who works at the library, don't get me wrong. To be able to share new messages about librarianship out to the community and to be able to segment those messages based on what the audience is interested in is a significant challenge for us. To talk about business reference librarianship and what business reference librarianship really is to folks who are themselves entrepreneurs or starters or business folks, we have to help translate for them, to them, what the librarians want, the way librarians normally talk. It's a bit of a lift. And then we also have the issue of the political literacy skills within the profession. We come into some communities, and we've got very sophisticated folks that we're working with. In other communities, we're starting very much from scratch. We're very happy to help lift up people one by one and communities one by one to make them more politically literate, more politically savvy, to understand their own power. And at the same time, we believe very firmly that the profession needs to re-engage political literacy the same way that they have engaged over the years intellectual freedom. The vocabulary around intellectual freedom and access is very robust. The vocabulary around tax policy and about public policy is not quite as robust. We'd like to encourage those changes. And we need your help with these challenges. All right. Let me see if I've screwed up my PowerPoint here. No, I haven't. Fantastic. How are we going to address that? We have a research agenda that we're certainly developing right now. Our research agenda that requires both thoughtful engagement on the part of the profession and the people on the inside. Not just the EveryLibrary folks, but folks who are in the next ring or two out. What don't we know right now about how the voters look at libraries? We don't know a lot right now. We've got a sample of, well, let me get to that in just a minute. We have a research agenda that we're going to look to drive, and we're going to need help with funding it, to do the research right, and forming it, which means that I'm going to need some help. Patrick, Brian, Peter, Mel, Eric, and I are going to need some help from your brains, too. We want to build out our activist lists in order to address these challenges, because if we have less money than people, we can still succeed. We'd like to have enough money and enough people to be successful as activists. That, again, needs your help. We want to be marketing to voters in a new and engaged way over the next couple of years. votelibraries 2016 is a nice project. It's a nice project. It's not revolutionary. It doesn't change the landscape for library activism and library advocacy. It engages us with a very thin, narrow group of folks based on our budget and based on our reach. We would like to extend that significantly. And we do want to teach the profession. The research agenda that we want to drive needs to be focused on a post-recession, post-Obama voter. Post-recession, post-Obama, because the last good sample that we have of voter thought nationwide comes from OCLC and the From Awareness to Funding study. That was 2007. It was pre-recession, pre-Obama. Whatever happens with Secretary Clinton and Mr. Trump on November 8th is going to dramatically affect voter behavior for years to come. It might not bump the 37% or so of people who believe in libraries. It might not bump the 37 additional percent who are suspicious, but it's certainly going to be affecting folks who are in the any tax is a bad tax, or the just say no, or the those people are not my neighbor. Those people are those people. They don't need libraries. We need to learn more about what motivates voters, and we need your help. We need this shared. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again, action.everylibrary.org. To build out in an ad hoc fashion, sure. To build out in a concerted effort, absolutely. We're looking for state-by-state projects. We're looking for city-by-city projects to do this in. We want to be able to build a cohort of civilians and citizens who care about libraries, who are activatable both for their own backyards, their own local libraries or school libraries or public libraries. We also want folks who have got enough awareness that they can help motivate change around the country. It starts at action.everylibrary.org. We want to keep working on projects like Vote Libraries, but we also want to take it to another level. I've got a hope that we can start doing some writing, some content in blogs and magazines that, no, I'm a parent. I got 2 kids. I got an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old. I go to these parenting blogs and magazines all the time looking for help, and I don't see the library in there. I don't see librarians in there telling me natural things about story time, about summer reading, about the STEM education that goes on in libraries. I'd like to start writing those. I'd like to have us start writing those. And if you're somebody who wants to do that with us, I'd love that. Parenting's on the top of my mind. There's a lot of different topics. Plus, we're going to start doing some commercials. We piloted commercials earlier this year on several podcasts where we did a commercial about EveryLibrary and about libraries, had great uptake. They're not cheap when you talk on the right podcasts, but we've got an opportunity to activate, again, small cuts of the public, small little groups of the public who care already. They're pre-qualified. We know what drives them. We need your help to get those things bigger. And then when it comes to political literacy, we're very proud that we have an internship program coming together with San Jose State University. This will be our 3rd intern. We're looking for candidates beyond this one. We have a project going on right now with the Collaboratory with David Lankeys. Now he's moving over to South Carolina. We have our journal, The Political Librarian. It is a unique journal in the space. It's hosted at Washington University in St. Louis. It's open access. We take opinions. We take peer-reviewed material about policy, public policy and tax policy for libraries. We want to move the needle. Okay, our denouement, as it were. What's our mission? Our mission is to building voter support for libraries. It's pretty tight. It's pretty succinct. Our vision, the reason that we call this thing EveryLibrary, is because any library advocacy issue anywhere should matter to every library everywhere. If those resonate with you, which I think that they do, you wouldn't be sitting on this call for this long, help us. Help us move this thing along. Donate if you haven't already. If you have already, talk about how you've donated. If it was a year ago, I'm cool with that. Put up a Facebook post. Talk about how you've already donated, what we've done, 41 campaigns, 32 wins, $100 million. And then take an action. If we put out a call for action, it's not casual. There's a crisis someplace. We're getting to the point where we can be more proactive, but we need your voice to be added to it. You can also shop. And quite frankly, this is really cool. When you see Brian back at the end of this conversation, he's got his Vote Libraries t-shirt on. We've got some nice swag on via votelibraries.org. It's with an organization called the Creative Action Network. The Creative Action Network, every purchase through there supports us, them, and the artists. It's a nice arrangement, and it's classy looking stuff. We need you to volunteer. We need you to help write. The easiest one is the political librarian. We'd like your thoughts on public policy and tax policy for libraries. There's some other projects for the writing that we want to do that we don't even have formed quite yet, but I want to hear from you. Brian wants to hear from you. Patrick wants to hear from you. We've got a cohort of people who are inside right now as volunteers. Not the board, but another ring of people, about 100, 120 people right now, who are doing little things in their spare time, and God bless them. We need a few more folks just like them. And then the network and sharing. So right now, if you could, when this is over, hit our Facebook page, which is EveryLibrary, or hit our Twitter feed, which is @EveryLibrary. We've got some recent posts up there that you can share. We've got some recent tweets up there that need to be retweeted. And as we head into the November election, I want to be able to share the Vote Library story more broadly. We're going to ask our folks to change your avatar, those sorts of traditional things. The social impact of being able to tell somebody to vote libraries, to share why you should vote libraries up and down the ticket. We're hoping to be able to gel some really good stories out of this and to be able to refine it. 2016 is a noisy, noisy year. 2018, we've got some better opportunities perhaps in the congressional cycle. 2020, we're certainly looking to be at scale at that point to be able to drive a message about libraries to the electorate. Okay, last thing, folks. November 8th, it's coming up real soon. We are on the 5th Monday from there. Tomorrow's, right on the verge. We are looking towards both success with those 13 campaigns, as well as keeping an eye on crisis. I mentioned at the beginning, we've had some trouble with campaigns in the past running into any tax is a bad tax opposition. Campaigns in the past where they run up against a brick wall, not from a lack of trying, but from real headwind that has nothing to do with the library's plan or a community civic discussion about the future of the library. It simply is a no. It's a principled no, but it is one that shuts down the conversation because any tax is a bad tax. Our Rapid Response Fund needs your help. I'd like to see $5,000 in the bank in order to be able to be prepared in case. And I'm telling you, I'm not sure what's going to happen. We didn't know that the AFP, the Koch brothers, were going to come out against the Plainfield Library until the Thursday before the Tuesday election. We didn't know in Pomona, California, back in 2014, that the California Association of Realtors was going to come out with 3 different direct mail pieces against the library measure until the Tuesday before the Tuesday election. We didn't know in Meridian, Idaho, that the Tea Party of Northern Idaho was going to come out against them. This is in the hundreds of hours window. Your help in moving this Rapid Response Fund forward, it's extraordinarily necessary. You can go to action.everylibrary.org and click on the Take Action, or you can hit this link directly for our Rapid Response Fund. More importantly, if you've been a donor before, is to help us share it. Right now, on our most recent tweet, on our most recent Facebook post, it's shovel ready to be shared right now. We put it up about 15 minutes ago. Please go over there and help us extend our reach. To use Rapid Response as a hashtag would be very helpful. To always use Vote Libraries between now and the 8th of November, that'd be extraordinary. I want to know what's on your mind. I want to know if we can do something that's a little bit different or a little bit extra. If we can take a few moments here and use the chat box, and Brian can come on and help interlocutor for this. I'd like to be able to take the few minutes that we have left in the hour and do that. We're 20 till right now. It's been a pleasure to talk to you today, and it's been a pleasure to be able to share what we're doing. I want to be able to be as open and transparent and consultative in the work that we do at EveryLibrary as we encourage our libraries to be when they go to the voters. It is an extraordinary network that we have. It's one that every day when I look at a donation come in, or look at somebody who's offered their time or their brain power or their treasure, it's humbling. And I'm not always articulate about that. I certainly would like to be more articulate with you guys tonight. So thank you, and please, what's on your mind? Okay, Brian, anything on the chat?
So I'm not seeing anything on the chat. I was having some technical difficulties again there, so I do apologize about that. I'm not seeing anything on the chat. However, I do want to remind everyone that as you were sharing some information and insights from your during the discussion, some of the direct links were shared in the chat. So the Action platform, which is action.everylibrary.org, as well as the link, direct link to the Political Librarian, which again is hosted at Washington University at St. Louis, and also the links for the Creative Action Network, particularly the Vote Libraries landing page for their site, as well as our Vote Libraries page, which is another platform in which we're using to share some of those stories about the significance of libraries and why we need to activate communities to go out and be proactive in their stance and in their voting for libraries. Again, I'm not seeing anything in the chat at this moment. We are scheduled to begin this call again at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. So if you only caught a portion of the discussion and would like to again tune in then John and I will both be available and prepared to host you then as well. So,
Great. Hey, Brian, last thing, man, before you stop recording, let's see that whole shirt. Bring it up.
Very nice.
You look sharp, buddy. You look real sharp.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You can see his form fitting, so it's a really nice shirt. So I encourage you guys to go out and purchase that because, that's a very good way, of course, to mobilize your own neighbors and your friends and relatives and share with them what's important to you, and then they'll in turn, buy in and support you and the libraries that you so passionately advocate for. So again, thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate your support and your attendance here tonight, and hope you guys have a good rest of the week as well.
Good night, everybody. Cheers.